Hi, my name is Haley and I'm from Georgia. I've always been a good-looking girl, even in kindergarten. The girls in my class had always been jealous of my looks, especially Julissa, my rival since childhood. She was that rich and spoiled girl that everyone hates. How did our rivalry start? Well, it happened when we were in kindergarten. Hey, can I play with that?
No! Get your own doll!
She thought she was so cool, flexing her limited edition toys. You know it wouldn't hurt to share. You're mean. As I said that out loud, everyone agreed with me and called her mean too. And since then, Julissa was always trying to get back at me. She always used to flaunt her money, driving home in a Tesla, having the latest edition of clothes, gadgets, and whatnot. But she couldn't beat me in terms of looks. See, I was the cutest one around, with long, shiny black hair and brown eyes. I was taller than her as well. In fact, my height was perfect and very mature compared to the girls around me. By 4th grade, all the boys in my class had a crush on me. But sadly, my parents didn't allow me to have a boyfriend.
You cannot start dating until you reach high school.
It's for your own good.
So I listened to them. When I enrolled in middle school, I was taller than every girl in my form. So I stuck out. I loved the limelight. I was the most popular girl, much to the annoyance of Julissa. Her jealousy had turned into this mean girl whom everyone avoided. When teachers held her accountable for the tricks she pulled on me and the others, she used her father's position to get away with it.
My father is a senator. He can ruin your life.
Now, Julissa, there's no need to get worked up.
So she got away with everything. But what good would that do? She was still alone. I was friends with almost everyone in school. The table I sat at during recess used to be crowded because I had so many admirers. I felt like some big shot celebrity.
Look at that weirdo sitting alone.
Hey, Julissa, you can come sit with us.
Like I'd ever want to sit with the likes of you.
I had tried to be friendly, but she didn't appreciate it. Pretty soon, it was summer break. I couldn't wait to get to high school and finally get a boyfriend. But then, during the summer, my height increased quite alarmingly. I had always been tall for my age, but now, I just couldn't stop growing. I was already 6 feet tall, and I hadn't stopped growing. I was almost afraid that I'd wake up one day and crash into the ceiling. One morning, when we were having breakfast, my mom shrieked.
Oh my God! Haley, you're growing!
I looked up from my cereal to look at my parents' horrified faces. And then I felt it. My legs getting longer, me getting much higher than the table. Mom, Dad, what is happening to me? They rushed me to a doctor who did some tests.
Your test results show that you are lactose intolerant. Besides that, all is clear.
What does that have to do with me growing?
Why don't you try drinking some of this milk?
He put the glass in front of me and I gulped it down. There were gasps from everyone as I started to grow taller. Again! Make it stop! Help! When I stopped growing, I looked at the doctor hopefully. Is there something we can do?
Yes, avoid all dairy products.
My diet was restricted from that day forth. After some time, I could actually see that my growth had stopped. I was 6 feet 4, right before I enrolled in high school. As I entered the school building, a ball came flying right at my head. But since I was tall, I caught it easily.
Whoa, there's Sasquatch.
It was a boy called Darren who had always had a crush on me, and now here he was making fun of me.
My goodness, Haley, is that really you?
Julissa burst into laughter after seeing me towering over all the boys my age.
What happened to you? Did you go through a nuclear accident or something?
The whole school hallway started laughing at her comment, even the people who used to hang out with me, and I thought they were my friends. I was super mad, so I walked away. As I was taking out books from my locker, I caught sight of Ryan. He had been my crush for so many years, and he had asked me out right before summer. I had told him to wait for me. Now was my chance. Hey Ryan, how's it going? Remember that date you asked me out on? I think I'm ready for it now. He looked up at me. I was quite a few inches taller than him.
You? What makes you think I want to date you?
That was it. Everyone's mean comments might have hurt, but Ryan's rejection totally broke my heart.
Move over, freak.
Who did he think he was? I was the prettiest girl in my form. I was sure I would get a boyfriend pretty soon. It was the beginning of junior year, so cheerleaders tryouts were held on the very first day. I had always been active and did gymnastics in the past as well, so of course I signed up. And guess who else showed up? Julissa.
Hey, Giraffe! What are you doing here?
I could ask you the same thing. Didn't know they were picking losers.
Oh, I've actually already been selected as the head of the cheerleading squad.
What the heck? I marched straight up to the coach. Julissa has never even been into sports. She can't even run a lap. Why did you pick her?
Now, Haley. You can still try out for the team. Calm down.
But something told me that Julissa was not going to let it happen easily. My fears were confirmed. When it was my turn, she whispered something into the coach's ear.
Haley, I'm afraid the formation won't work with you in the team. You're just so tall. We need the squad to look balanced out.
But that's not fair. I threw the pom-poms right at her feet and stomped away. Who cared about cheerleading anyway? School became boring. As Julissa headed the squad, she stole all my friends. She became very popular, and she was acing every class unlike her previous grades. Meanwhile, I found out that Romeo and Juliet was gonna be performed at my school. I was a good actress, and fortunately, I loved poetry. So I learned the audition lines by heart before going there. I was sure that I was the best one at school for this role. When I went to the auditorium, I saw Julissa was already auditioning there. She was just throwing the lines with no feeling. I grinned at her terrible dialogue delivery. It was my time to shine. As I performed on the stage, I saw the drama teacher's face light up. I was nailing this. When everyone was done auditioning, she turned to me. This was my moment.
Hailey, dear, although your performance was spectacular, there's not really any Romeo candidates who would look good by your side. So I'm afraid we'll have to give this role to Julissa this time.
Are you kidding me?
No need to feel down. We have other openings. Perhaps you could be a horse or a tree.
Yeah, no way, Julissa smirked. This had been humiliating enough. I left the auditorium. I couldn't believe that they wanted me to be a tree. Like heck I would. I stomped out angrily. During recess, I ate my lunch alone. I wasn't used to this. While I was busy eating, I heard someone yelling.
Yo! Look at Hailey! She's getting bigger!
Oh no, not again. At home, my parents monitored everything I ate, but I had just eaten a whole cupcake, forgetting that there were probably dairy products used in it too.
Oh my god! She's a freak!
I hid my face and ran out of the cafeteria. The constant bullying, the degradation, the embarrassment put me down. Before, I used to beg to be seen. Now I just wanted to disappear. So I stopped dressing up. I started wearing these neutral-colored, enormous hoodies that made me blend in easily. No one really noticed me anymore. With my hood up, I could easily pass as a regular tall guy. One day I was eating lunch alone as usual, when some mashed potatoes came flying right on my head. My hair had been ruined. I turned around to see that it was Julissa. Not wasting a second, I hurled my own food at her face. She was angry as she wiped her face and grabbed a whole piece of blueberry pie, tossing it in my direction. I ducked and she missed. However, there were gasps as I turned to see that she had just hit a guy instead. Like me, he was really tall. Probably the only guy taller than me at the school. I hadn't seen him around here before.
It's her fault!
Yeah, right.
He sat down on my table.
I swear some people are worse than animals. Are you new here too?
Not exactly.
Then why are you having lunch by yourself?
Because people think I'm a freak because I'm too tall.
They're fools. Ignore them.
He smiled at me.
I'm Jay.
We shook hands, Hailey, and for the first time I noticed how hot Jay was. He had these dreamy eyes with thick lashes. He was also quite fit. I almost drooled. We got talking. As he was new here and didn't know many people, we soon became friends. One day when I walked into school, I saw this huge banner on the hallway that said,
Hailey, will you go out with me?
I turned around to see that it was Jay.
You're the most unique girl I ever met. I wanted to ask you out since the day I met you. So, what's your answer gonna be?
Yes, I would love to go out with you. He was the nicest guy I had ever met. We had so much fun together. Jay and I were literal couple goals.
Maybe you should try basketball.
Jay suggested. I decided to take his advice and join the school's basketball team. I was brilliant at it. With me on the team, our school won cup after cup. It was finally the homecoming match. I was going to take this win and become a star. We won the match, and I even scored the winning dunk. I looked at the crowd to spot my boyfriend, but he was nowhere in sight. Oh well, he must have gone to the bathroom. I couldn't wait to show him the cup, so I went there. I heard some voices in the corridor, so I stopped.
Does she suspect you?
It was Julissa's voice. This sounded secretive, so there's no way I'd miss hearing it.
Not a bit. She trusts me.
It was Jay's voice. I couldn't believe it. And were they talking about me?
But does she love you?
I don't know. She hasn't said it yet.
Then make her fall in love with you? Faster! What am I paying you for?
Such things take time.
Are you waiting for the school year to be over? Make her fall in love with you and then dump her!
All right.
Here's half the payment. You will get the rest when the job is done.
I sank to my knees. My heart was broken. Well and truly broken. Jay had been in on it from the start. I should have known it was too good to be true, but I couldn't let them see me like this. They would have succeeded in their purpose then. So I wiped my tears and left. That night, Jay bombarded my phone with calls and text messages, but I just ignored them. He didn't deserve me. It was time to focus on myself. Showing up at school the next day, everyone's eyes were on me. The way I had dressed, I looked nothing less than a model. Even my height didn't look bad with the confidence I was wearing. The outfit that I had chosen completely went with my long legs, plus I had just won the cup. I was the school star. Jay saw me and hurried towards me.
Where were you? I've been calling you the whole night. Did you even read my texts?
Why do you care? Go call Julissa since you two seem to be so close. I looked at him with hate in my eyes, and he immediately knew that I knew.
I can explain.
He stammered, but I wasn't going to listen to him. Save it! I flocked away to go see the principal and get some advice on my sports future. When I opened the door to the office, I saw the principal kissing a man. I was about to leave, but then I looked closely. It was none other than the senator, aka Julissa's dad.
You'll make sure that my daughter doesn't get bad grades?
He mumbled between the kisses. Ew.
Of course, honey. Why wouldn't I want the best for my future stepdaughter?
Honey? Stepdaughter? What on earth is going on? And then it struck me why Julissa had been acing every class when she had always done poorly at school. Why she had been made the leader of the cheerleading squad and even landed the role of Juliet. She was terrible at everything. No wonder she was getting all that because the principal had a conflict of interest. That was so unfair. I hurriedly took out my phone and snapped a few photos and a video as evidence. Then I quickly left. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I had to. Later, I went to the principal's office and showed her the evidence. You know what will happen to your career if this gets out.
What do you want?
I want the best opportunities this school has to offer. I'm not asking for anything I don't deserve, and you know it. She agreed. Things were great after that. I got lead roles. I even got a scholarship. One day, Jane came to me while I was practicing my lines for the lead role of a play. What are you doing here?
Won't you forgive me this once, Haley? I really love you.
Forget it. I don't want to ever see your face again. Leave me alone. As I was getting out there, I saw a shadow on the wall. Someone had been eavesdropping on us, and I knew that it was Julissa. She had put him at this yet again. An evil plan formulated in my head. It was time for her to pay. I started writing a love letter. Dear Julissa, I have always liked you. In fact, I tried to help you with the whole Haley matter just so I could get close to you. Meet me in the cafeteria during recess. Let me show you just how in love with you I am. Love, Jay. I slipped the note in Julissa's locker. Jay was a hot guy. I was sure that she'd been thrilled to receive his confession. I then went to Jay's locker and wrote a note from Julissa. Meet me in the cafeteria. There's something I want to discuss. And then I went to the cafeteria to watch the show because it was almost recess. The cafeteria was flooded with students. The more the audience, the better it would be. Jay was already there waiting at the table. I saw Julissa happily making her way towards him.
Oh, Jay, I always knew you liked me.
She said these words quite loud, and all necks turned towards their table.
What?
I'm so happy you confessed. I like you too.
I never said I like you. Now what did you want to discuss?
But earlier you...
I watched her getting embarrassed in front of the whole school. She realized that this was a prank. Julissa got up and angrily left the room. Even if this was a prank, she had just told everyone that she liked Jay. Julissa was rejected in front of the whole school. This time, it was her who was in everyone's whispers. As for me, I used my condition as if it was a superpower. I got into beauty pageants and was named Georgia's tallest supermodel. I was different, but I was also amazing.
Hi, my name's Crystal. Please like and subscribe. Growing up, I didn't have many friends. No one so much as looked at me, let alone speak to me. Well, except for Allie, my best friend, and my only friend. The first time Allie and I met was when we were 5 years old.
Hey, give that back! Dance for me first!
Embarrassed, I stood up and began to dance a little. But then suddenly, this other girl barged in and shoved the kid away. She grabbed my toy and handed it back to me. I was in awe.
Here you go.
Thanks! We've been best friends ever since. I was used to never getting attention, until the day that changed the rest of my life forever. Allie and I were sitting at our usual spot in the cafeteria when suddenly there was a bunch of commotion outside. Everyone was shouting and running out into the field. Let's go check it out. We ran outside to find a giant banner flying across the sky, pulled by a plane. It said, "Bow to your new king, King Dante." What's going on? Suddenly, a figure leaped out of the plane and fell straight towards us.
Ah! He's gonna die!
But then the skydiver yanked on his bag and a parachute opened up. The crowd gasped and clapped until finally he arrived in front of us. The guy pulled off his mask, and I knew everyone was thinking the same thing. He was so handsome. Hello, commoners! I am King Dante. I will be moving to this school and I can't wait to rule this place.
Seriously, who was this guy?
Suddenly, Dante turned his head and looked right at me. Is something funny? No, nothing. I couldn't hold it in.
Crystal!
Dante walked towards us slowly. What's your name? Crystal? Listen here, Crystal. I don't have time to deal with peasants like you. The smile slipped off from my face. What did you just call me? You heard me. Now bow down. I beg your pardon? Granted. What?
Crystal, come on, just do it.
And you can't believe what she did. She actually went down onto her knees and bowed to him. Nuh-uh. I wasn't having any of that. Go on, Crystal. Follow your friend. Unlike you, she's got a brain.
Crystal, hurry!
Come on, sweetie, just... I don't know what came over me. 1 second my arm was by my side, and the next second it had pulled back and swung around with enormous speed, punching Dante right in his snobby face. Ow! The crowd gasped. A teacher appeared. Crystal! Detention! Now! I was too stunned to move. What was that? Later in the principal's office, Principal Morgan was really scolding me.
This is so unlike you, Crystal. You're usually very quiet and mellow.
What happened? I agree. He must have done something horrible to cause such a reaction. What did he do, sweetie? He asked me to bow to him. Okay, while that is bad, that does not justify punching him. I'm sorry, Crystal, but I'm going to have to expel you. What? Dante is the son of the mayor of this town. I have to set a precedent. But... Principal Morgan stood up and approached me. I'll be taking your... And suddenly a tingling sensation erupted across my skin. And just like before, my limbs moved of their own accord and swiped Principal Morgan off her feet. She came crashing down. Crystal! She's definitely expelled now! Something was wrong with me. Mom agreed and took me to the hospital that evening. And after running several tests, the doctors came to a dark conclusion. She has a rare condition called ninja-loxia. What does that mean? It's a rare condition that basically turns her into a ninja whenever she feels threatened. I advise you to learn how to control it so you don't seriously hurt someone. Is there nothing else we can do? I'm afraid not. Luckily, Mom was able to give Principal Morgan the doctor's report so I could still stay at school. But the news of my condition had left me shocked. I didn't want to hurt anyone. The next day at school, we were in the cafeteria again when I saw Dante walk in. He had a band-aid on the side of his face where I had punched him. I'm gonna go apologize to him. No, don't! He doesn't deserve it. He's a jerk. Maybe, but I should still apologize. I managed to escape Allie's grasps and walk up to Dante. He had 2 other guys beside him. It looked like he'd managed to get a group of sheep already. Back off, pea-brains!
Yeah, unless you want a knuckle sandwich!
Shut it, Thing 1 and Thing 2! Dante, What? I wanted to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry for punching you. I never should have resorted to violence. Can you forgive me? Dante said nothing. He just looked at me. He had a weird expression on his face, too. After a while, I just left. It was so awkward. Later, Allie and I were at the skate park, skating around like we usually did. I flew off the ramp, but while I was in the air, my feet slipped from the board.
Crystal, look out!
I was heading straight for the fence. If I didn't do something quick, I would be fence food. Suddenly, my body curled into a ball, and I flipped and landed on my feet, avoiding the fence, as if I were Spider-Man. No, as if I were a ninja.
That was awesome!
Really? Suddenly, we heard slow clapping, and one of Dante's goons appeared.
Wow, amazing!
Then Dante and his other friend appeared.
What are you doing here? We've come to give you the payback you deserve. You defied King Dante. You know what happens to people who defy the crown.
I felt my body ready into a defensive stance. No, control yourself.
Come on, Dante. Let's show this little girl what you're made of. Yeah, go King Dante!
Dante stood there. I couldn't tell what he was thinking. What was he planning to do first? Punch me? Kick me? But a minute passed, and still he did nothing. He just stared at me. His goons looked confused, then one of them stepped forward.
Oh, of course. Why should King Dante do the dirty work? Let me beat this brat. Do it!
He advanced towards me, and I readied to defend myself, but suddenly the dude went flying and crashed to the ground. What had just happened? I looked up and saw Dante glaring at his friend with disgust. Don't you dare hurt her.
Huh?
Dante looked up at me. Was it just me, or was he blushing? I'm so sorry for how we've behaved, Crystal. Goodbye. And they left. Just like that. Allie and I looked at each other in shock. Had that really just happened? I had no idea what to make of that ordeal, but I knew my body was experiencing a crazy amount of emotions because that night I had a crazy nightmare. I was running down the road and someone was chasing me. For some reason, they had Allie's voice, even though it was a man. The man chased me and cornered me in an alleyway. I readied my hand back, then punched him with all my might. Suddenly, I heard a scream and woke up. Mom was on the ground, holding a bruised eye. Mom! Did I hit you? Mom quickly got up to comfort me. It's all right, honey. Really? I was horrified at myself. I couldn't stay here. I couldn't risk it. I ran between Mom's outstretched arms and leapt out of the open window. No! Crystal, wait! I ran down the street as fast as I could. It was pouring rain and I couldn't see clearly in the darkness. I crossed the street and narrowly missed being run over. I made it to a quieter part of town. I didn't know where I was heading. What should I do?
Lost, little girl?
6 men surrounded me. They all looked like crooked thieves.
Be a good little girl and give us all your money.
I don't have any on me.
We'll see about that.
They pressed in closer and just like that, I switched. I was in survival mode. My ears sharpened, my vision cleared. I was ready. They didn't stand a chance. I knocked out the first guy with a quick jab, then the other went down with my flying kick. Down they went one after another, until just one remained. Wait, please! I did a backflip, crushing his temple with my foot, and he too went crumbling down like a sandcastle. I breathed heavily. That was
awesome!
But then a tingling sensation spread over my body, and I spotted more thieves swarming out of the darkness.
Oh, you! You'll pay for what you did to our friends!
There were too many of them. I didn't think I could handle them all at once. Then suddenly a car screeched and skidded to a stop beside me. The door opened and I couldn't believe who was in the back seat. Get in! I hesitated. Who would I rather? Dozens of thieves who were out to get me? Or Dante? It was a hard choice, but eventually I leapt into the car with Dante and we sped off. Thank you for saving me. Don't mention it. Dante asked his driver to take us to a scenic view of the ocean so we could cool down. I hopped out of the car as soon as we arrived and sat down on the cliff ledge. I heard Dante follow after me and sit down too. So, you gonna tell me what happened? Just got into a little trouble. What are you doing out at this time of night? Why do you care? Dante looked a little hurt. I sighed. I'm sorry. I'm just a little on edge. No, don't apologize. I should be the one. He looked away. What was up with him? Are you okay? Me? Yeah, of course. I wasn't the one who was just attacked by a gang of thieves. True. But still. I put my hand on his. You okay? He stiffened, then let out a sigh. I like you. I froze. What? I like you, okay? I like you. You're the only girl who actually cares, who actually looks at me, who sees me, who... He bit his lip. I've said too much, and I don't know what happened. Just like how my body moved of its own accord whenever it felt threatened, it moved of its own accord now, but for an entirely different reason. I gently turned his face to me and leaned in and kissed him. It felt like my heart was dancing inside. When we finally broke away, Dante looked like he was on cloud 9. Wow. I was shocked by this sudden turn of events. Who knew I would be kissing King Dante? But he had changed. He wasn't the snobby King Dante he used to be. Listen, I'm throwing a birthday party tomorrow. You should come. Sure. Can I bring Allie? Allie? My best friend. Of course. Thanks. I kissed him again on the cheek, and later he dropped me back home. When Mom saw me, she embraced me. Where have you been? I've been worried sick. Mom, you have no idea. The next day, Allie and I walked over to Dante's house. Did I say house? I meant mansion. Seriously, his dad had big bucks. We rang the doorbell and Dante opened the door. Crystal, Allie, you both look amazing. Thanks, Dante. We entered and he led us around to where the other party guests were gathered. We're about to cut the cake. You know the rules, Dante. You have to give the first slice to the person you like the most. Dante blushed, then promptly handed me the first slice without any hesitation. Now it was my turn to blush while the whole crowd whooped and hollered. I turned to look at Allie, but she seemed to have disappeared. Are you enjoying the party? It's great. I'll be right back. I'm just gonna get us some juice. But he didn't get right back. It was an hour before I saw him again, and only after I looked around the whole giant house. Eventually, I found him out on the balcony. Dante, what are you doing out here? Dante sniffled. Had he been crying? What's wrong?
Why do you care?
What? Dante, what are you talking about? It's fine. You don't have to pretend anymore. Allie told me everything. What? She told me how you were only pretending to like me back. You were just doing some giant scheme to get me kicked out of school. Fine. See if I care. I'm moving out of town. But Dante! He brushed past me and disappeared into another room. I was speechless. Why had Allie told him that? I went downstairs to try and find Allie. Have you seen Allie?
I think I saw her by the snacks table.
I ran over and sure enough, there she was, nibbling on some Doritos innocently.
Allie!
Allie spun around.
Oh, it's you.
Why did you do it, Allie?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't lie to me!
Just shut up and ninja your way back home.
My body began to move, and suddenly the bowl of punch was in my hands.
Wait, what are you? Too late.
I hurled the bowl of punch straight at her, and it smashed her right in the face. She was drenched. Everyone started laughing and pointing at her. Suddenly I felt guilty. Allie, I'm sorry, Wait! I followed after her down the street, searching for her blue hair. Suddenly I felt a tingling sensation again, and I turned to my left. There, in the bushes. I rushed over to find Allie sitting there on her own, drawing in the dirt. Allie?
Ah! How did you find me?
Allie, why did you tell Dante those lies? Allie looked like she was about to cry. Then finally she exploded.
I'm so sorry!
Huh? Allie collapsed onto me, holding me tight.
I'm sorry I did it!
But why did you?
Because I have a crush on Dante!
What?
I did the moment I saw him.
But he only had eyes for you. I got so jealous. I'm so sorry, Crystal. I never should have let a guy come between us. Please, will you forgive me? I looked at Crystal in her puffy eyes and smiled kindly. Of course I forgive you. You're my best friend. We hugged, then Allie stood up suddenly. I'm gonna go tell Dante the truth right now. Don't bother. I didn't really like him that much anyway. He's kinda needy. Allie looked shocked, then laughed out loud. I laughed with her. Then we linked arms and headed down the street.
Best friends for life!
Can you believe that my sister and I have been fighting over the crown of this kingdom for years? Hi, I'm Natalie. Please like and subscribe. My twin sister Valerie and I grew up in a huge castle by a silent river. My about 1,000 years ago, my ancestors built this kingdom from scratch, and now our dad is the king. Everyone used to tell us that we were very pretty. Even though Valerie and I were one of those twins that didn't resemble each other, Dad treated us equally from day one.
I had long, dark brown hair, and she had short blonde hair, but our eyes were both blue. We grew up without a mom. She went to heaven 2 years after our birth. I was very little, but I remember Dad crying for nights and nights. One day, when we were 10 years old, Dad came home with 2 big chests full of gold. They both contained the same amount of gold.
Here, my little rabbits. These are for you, for when you grow up to invest them in your dreams. There is 100 kilograms of pure gold from the mountains where we are coming from for each of you.
It was so shiny and beautiful. Not for Valerie, apparently, because she started complaining.
Why should Natalie take the same amount as me?
Because you are both sisters and twins. You deserve to be equal.
We are not equal. I am more beautiful and smarter than her.
You two should stick together. There will come a day when you will have to join forces and stick together instead of being divided. If our enemies find out that you two don't get along, it will be very easy for them to take the castle from your hands.
Got it, Dad?
Got it, Dad.
But it turns out this was just a test from Dad.
What you see is not real gold. It's just cheap metal covered with yellow shiny paint. You both failed to cooperate. And I can tell you, you are not ready to have this much power in your hands.
See? You ruined it! Just because you can't accept the truth! Now I have no gold because you can't keep your mouth shut!
Me? You ruined it!
She stared at me in anger for a few seconds, then suddenly jumped at me, pulling my hair. It was a big fight. Years passed, and Valerie and I grew even more distant. Once, when we were 15, a crazy winter was going on. Outside, there was a snowstorm and everything was frozen. Because of that, even we, the royal family, were short on food because all the animals had gone to warmer areas and all the vegetables were buried under snow at the moment. One night, Dad, Valerie, and I were seated at the dinner table waiting for the butlers to serve us food. But when the servant came, he only brought 2 baked potatoes. I was shocked.
Is this a joke? You're fired!
Valerie, sweetheart, it's not his fault.
That's all that's left. I shared every last piece of food with everyone in the kingdom.
Why would you do that? They are poor creatures. We are rich, and we are the royal family. We deserve all of it.
You don't even deserve those 2 potatoes.
You shut up! You're not eating. These 2 potatoes are just for Dad and me.
That's okay, honey. I won't eat. You two can eat them. Our scientist said that soon it will be sunny again.
Then I'm eating both.
And she did! She devoured both of them in a second. What a jerk! I stood up crying and left the dinner room with an empty stomach, went to my room, and cried all night. The morning after, when I woke up, I couldn't believe my eyes. I looked out the window, and it was sunny! I saw Dad leaving together with the hunters and their horses and retrievers to go and provide food for the castle. He was such an inspiring figure to me. One day, I wanted to be queen just so I could care for our kingdom the way he did. I'm sure Mom would have been proud. I got dressed, went downstairs, and saw Valerie in front of the fireplace. What are you doing up this early?
That's none of your business. But since you look desperate, I will tell you. Dad promised me that when he comes back from hunting, he would bring a surprise just for me, and he would bring you nothing.
Dad said that? I looked at the butler for approval. He rolled his eyes but didn't say anything. I smiled at him and told Valerie, "Well, I hope you enjoy what he brings you. Meanwhile, would you care to go for a walk in the garden with me? The snow has melted and the path is clear."
Are you out of your mind? It's still cold.
As I headed to the door, Valerie continued,
"But you can stay here with me. I will act like I don't mind."
I stopped, turned to her, smiled, and went to sit next to her. We were both looking at the fire. Why are you like you are? Why do you want everything for yourself? I am your sister.
I know, but one day I will be the queen. I have to prepare myself now.
What makes you think that? We are twins. I could be queen too.
I can't believe you. Haven't I told you many times that I am smarter and more beautiful than you?
I looked at her in anger, but luckily she smiled, because otherwise I would have jumped on her. We stayed in front of the fireplace for hours and hours next to each other. For the first time in my life, I was feeling like I did have a sister. We fell asleep and woke up when we heard the horses approach the castle.
Dad is here! Now watch the surprise that he has for me and cry!
When the door of the castle opened, I did cry, both of us. 5 hunters were holding the gigantic and strong body of Dad. We ran on him, but he wasn't breathing and was messed up. His face was full of scars.
Dad! Dad! What happened?
Milady, we were in the woods and we saw a deer. We always shoot from a distance, but His Majesty had run out of arrows, so approached the deer from a close range with a knife.
What? The deer did this to him!
No, milady. A bear that had seen the same deer and wanted her for himself.
My world fell apart. I was having trouble breathing and I passed out. When I woke up, I was in a bed and 3 people were over me, but none of them were Valerie. What happened to Valerie? Where is she? How is she?
Don't worry, milady. She is fine in her bedroom.
I didn't leave the room until Dad's funeral. Then, after a week, when I woke up one morning and went downstairs, I was shocked by what I saw. Valerie was wearing the Queen's crown and was going around the castle giving orders to everyone. I went to her in the garden.
Is that the way to cut a flower? You idiot! Go home! You're fired!
No, stay here. Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?
No, go! What does it look like I'm doing? I've taken over the castle. I am the queen now, and it's about time someone put in some order in this kingdom, because Dad had become too lenient in his reign. This kingdom didn't deserve him. He was too kind. But now, I am in charge.
No, you're not! Take off the crown!
No thanks.
Take off the crown immediately! First of all, there should be a protocol and ceremony to name the new queen.
Been there, done that, while you were asleep.
It doesn't count! And second, it hasn't even been a week since Dad passed, and all you can think about is this stupid crown!
If it's stupid, why do you want it then? Guards! She insulted a royal object. Take her!
But of course, the guards didn't move because they hadn't seen the ceremony yet and didn't recognize Valerie as queen. I couldn't care less about being the queen at the moment, but I also couldn't stand being ruled by a brat like Valerie. One day, 6 months later, Valerie was arguing with the governor of the castle who had been taking care of internal affairs forever. Dad trusted him blindly, and so did I. What's going on here?
Milady, nothing important enough to bother you.
It's all because of you! If you would just give up your stupid ambition of wanting to be the queen, I'd be the queen by now, and the kingdom would be fine! But thanks to you, we are facing economical issues now, and the governor here is making insane suggestions!
I would like to hear his suggestion.
Milady, our kingdom is part of the 7 kingdoms of the northern lands. Your ancestors have signed an agreement that if any of these kingdoms would be left without a king or queen for more than 3 months, we have to inform them to send us the diplomat who would evaluate the best person that should take over.
You knew about this and you didn't say anything? Valerie turned red and left the room. I asked the governor to inform the Congress of the 7 kingdoms to send us the delegate. 1 month later, the delegate arrived. His name was Charles, and he was so handsome. But most importantly, he was a real gentleman. My sister and I were waiting for him in the main hall, and he bowed down and kissed our hands. OMG! I had a crush on him already, but I had to stop myself from doing anything stupid because he was here to judge who the future queen would be.
My ladies, you know why I'm here. Therefore, I would like to start by giving you some tasks. First of all, I want to see how you manage tough situations.
Well, if we go together to the main hall, I can show you how I manage tough situations.
Seriously, now was not the time to flirt!
My lady, it's best if the tasks are performed in the presence of your sister and the governor. I am required to have testimonies. The first situation, imagine that you are the queen.
I don't have to imagine. I am the queen.
Shut up! Charles looked at me in a very weird way, and I just realized I'd done a stupid thing.
Okay, I think I have the answer to how you manage things.
No, please!
That's okay, my lady. There are 2 more tasks. What would you do to maintain internal relationships with other kingdoms and avoid wars?
Avoid wars? That's ridiculous. Why would we avoid wars? We are the strongest kingdom in the world, and we can win over anyone and anything.
Okay, I think I got this answer as well.
I started to stress out. What if Valerie won the last task? That would be a disaster.
Last question before I conclude. What would you do if the people were experiencing food shortages?
No one of us answered straight away, but I knew exactly what the answer was. I would go myself to hunt and provide food for our people until my last breath, just like my father did. Valerie was still thinking. What was there to think about? The answer was obvious, or at least for me, because she surprised me.
I would send every man for hunting, but I would stay in the castle in case something happens.
What a jerk! I immediately regretted saying that in front of Charles, but he laughed at my reaction.
Well, one of you gave the right answer, which defines the future queen. She is Valerie!
What? How could that moron have given the right answer? Turns out, no matter how noble my answer was, there was a protocol that said the queen or king had to stay safe as possible, because otherwise the kingdom would turn into chaos. That's why we were in this situation now. Valerie had chosen to stay inside, thus aligning with the requirements of a queen. I started crying and went upstairs when I bumped into the governor. I hugged him as if he were my dad.
Milady, you shouldn't cry.
But she became the queen. She will make my life miserable from now on.
No, she won't.
He smiled at me and showed me a bunch of papers. Then he went downstairs to Charles and Valerie and handed the papers to them.
What's this trash?
This trash, milady, is what your father has signed. While I was looking for the papers to sign for the new queen, I found this in his drawers. In these papers is written the adoption permission from your parents to the late king. Valerie, you cannot be queen. You do not have royal blood.
What? I couldn't believe it! Valerie was adopted?
This can't be true! We're twins!
You were the daughter of the ex-queen's sister, who unfortunately has also passed away in a glorious battle, and she fought bravely, together with your father. Therefore, Miss Natalie has the legal right to become queen. Well, case closed. I'm heading back home.
Wait! He stopped, and I went to find Valerie. She was crying. Valerie, please don't cry.
But I am adopted! Are you happy now?
I am, because I still love you the same way, which means that for me it doesn't matter who your parents are. You will always be my sister. Valerie raised her head and looked at me for a moment, then burst into tears. She hugged me as she'd never done before, and I knew this time she meant it. We will rule together. I will take every piece of advice that you will give me. I promise.
In this case, my business is over here.
Please, stay a little longer. We need your help. You seem to know everything about ruling a kingdom. And it was true. Charles did know everything about it. He promised to stay with us until I'd be completely ready to rule the kingdom. 5 months later, Charles and I were traveling in a horse-drawn carriage when he started talking to me sweetly.
My lady, no matter how inappropriate this might seem, I cannot keep for myself anymore the fact that I am in love with you.
He was so cute. His eyes were shining when he said that. I couldn't say a word at that moment. Stop the carriage!
Are you going to leave me here?
I smiled and asked him to come out of the carriage with me. When we went out, the most beautiful scenery opened in front of us. We were riding along a massive canyon and it was almost sunset. Everything was beautiful and perfect. I missed Dad for a moment, but I believe Charles was sent to me from Dad to protect me, to take care of me, just like Dad used to. I turned to Charles and hugged him. Then I looked at him right in his beautiful eyes. I love you too! We kissed for the first time, and it was magical.